Most of us are familiar with the lovable, carefree warthog from that classic animated lion movie. But out in the actual wild, these tough beasts face a threat far more annoying than any apex predator. Worst of all, this particular opponent is one they are completely powerless to defeat on their own. Just a short distance across the plains, a totally different group of creatures is waking up for the morning. Very shortly, these two drastically different species will cross paths in a highly unusual way. They are about to form what might be the most bizarre alliance found anywhere in the African wilderness. The incredible interaction that follows their meeting is bound to leave you absolutely speechless and questioning nature's logic. Fully grown, one of these massive wild pigs can easily tip the scales at nearly 1,000 pounds. Armed with a set of 4 razor-like tusks, they are perfectly equipped to fend off deadly attackers. Whether they are cornered by a leopard, a fierce lion, or a whole gang of hungry hyenas, this bold creature won't hesitate for a second before launching a brutal and aggressive counterattack. Just one powerful, snorting upward strike from its face is usually enough to send the fiercest hunters running. Despite this intimidating physical power, all their muscle and sharp defenses mean absolutely nothing in this specific scenario. They are left completely helpless when confronted by a tiny living thing that is barely the size of a standard human fingertip, the relentless tick, which arrives in massive swarms to torment the beast. Scores, and occasionally hundreds, of these tiny parasites congregate heavily around the poor animal's ears. They expertly conceal themselves deep within the thick, heavy folds of the beast's leathery skin. Constantly feasting on the animal's blood day after day, these pests cause maddening, non-stop discomfort. Desperate for any kind of relief, the massive pig frantically scrapes its body against rough tree trunks. It tumbles and thrashes heavily across the dusty earth, hoping the rough ground will dislodge the invaders. The intensely frustrated animal even awkwardly lifts a back leg to aggressively claw at its own neck. Violently tossing its heavy head back and forth yields no results, as every attempt ends in failure. Those incredibly stubborn parasites, safely nestled deep within the ear canals, remain completely unaffected by the struggle. Not too far from this itchy scene, a bustling clan of banded mongooses begins their morning forage. These highly energetic little mammals thrive by living closely together in fiercely loyal, cooperative family units. Within their highly structured society, every single individual is tasked with a specific, vital daily duty. In just a matter of minutes, these mongooses will cross paths with the deeply irritated pig. Despite having absolutely nothing in common, they are about to form the savanna's most unbelievable, extraordinary alliance. For all her raw muscular power, the wild pig is completely defenseless against parasites no larger than a tiny pebble. Hordes of these blood-sucking pests swarm around her sensitive ears and tuck themselves deep within the thick folds of her skin. Day in and day out, the relentless biting drives the poor creature to the brink of absolute madness. She desperately grinds her coarse body against rough bark and thrashes around in the dusty earth to find some relief. Frantically kicking at her neck and wildly shaking her heavy head, the beast tries everything to dislodge her tiny tormentors. Yet, all her desperate efforts are in vain, as the most stubborn parasites remain safely anchored deep inside her ear canals. Meanwhile, as the mongoose clan continues their daily hunt, their sophisticated division of labor is on full display. While the majority keep their snouts buried in the dirt searching for snacks, a designated lookout stands tall on their hind legs. Should any threat emerge, this brave sentry will immediately sound a piercing shriek to warn their vulnerable relatives. At the first sign of trouble, the entire pack would instantly sprint back to the secure depths of their underground den. Only when the coast is absolutely clear do they cautiously emerge to resume their feast in the dangerous African wilderness. However, this particular morning expedition is about to take a highly unusual turn for the tiny carnivores. Right in their path stands the miserable mother wild pig, accompanied closely by her little offspring. But the curious mongooses aren't fixated on the massive beasts themselves. Their sharp eyes are locked straight onto the juicy parasites covering them. Moving cautiously toward the massive mammal, a lone scout takes the lead, inching forward with deliberate steps. What unfolds next on the savanna is a truly extraordinary display of wild animal behavior. Rather than showing aggression or attempting to scare the tiny intruder away, the giant beast remains perfectly calm. In a deliberate show of peace, the enormous mother slowly bends her front legs and sinks down into the dirt. She gracefully rests her heavy snout against the ground, holding completely still as though anticipating a familiar service. Accepting this silent invitation, the brave little mongoose delicately climbs right onto the resting pig's broad shoulder. Realizing the situation is completely safe, the rest of the eager pack quickly scrambles forward to participate. The furry little workers promptly spread out across their massive host, each claiming a unique territory to thoroughly inspect. They have a singular mission in mind, relentlessly hunting down the annoying bugs hiding deep within the coarse hair. Guided by sharp vision and nimble claws, the little predators uncover their hidden prizes with impressive speed. A lightning-fast snap of tiny jaws is all it takes to instantly pluck a plump pest from the irritated skin. Immediately, they move on to the next target, eagerly gobbling down the protein-rich snacks without a moment's hesitation. As the frantic feast continues, the diligent groomers systematically comb through every single inch of the grateful mother's bristly coat. Throughout this bizarre but highly effective spa treatment, an undeniable and remarkable sense of trust hangs in the warm air. Bathed in profound relief, the massive mother remains incredibly still throughout the entire process, embracing her break from the relentless itchiness. The frantic head tosses have completely ceased, and her previously twitching ears finally hang entirely motionless in the warm breeze. Soft, contented grunts and heavy sighs escape her snout, signaling a deep appreciation for the tiny helper's incredibly thorough work. Suddenly, the peaceful atmosphere is shattered when a designated guard on duty abruptly pops up onto its hind legs. Standing tall like a furry statue, the vigilant lookout intensely fixes its gaze on something concerning on the far horizon. Without warning, a sharp, piercing warning cry cuts through the quiet savanna air, signaling immediate danger to the entire group. Reacting in a split second, the furry groomers abandon their feast, leaping off their massive client to hit the dirt. The tiny creatures scramble frantically across the dry earth, sprinting as fast as their short legs can carry them toward their underground home. Snapped out of her relaxed state, the protective mother instantly switches gears, hurrying her tiny baby away from the exposed open ground. Together, the heavy mammal and her fragile offspring trot hurriedly toward the safety of nearby dense thickets to take cover. The source of the sudden panic becomes clear as the stealthy silhouette of a prowling lioness emerges from the distant brush. The apex predator stalks closer, her muscular form moving silently through the golden grass, completely disrupting the midday tranquility. Tense minutes slowly tick by in the stifling heat, with every vulnerable animal holding its breath inside their respective hideouts. Eventually, a cautious little head pokes back out from the dark burrow, thoroughly sweeping the landscape to ensure the lethal threat has passed. Once the furry scout confirms the deadly predator is truly gone, the rest of the pack scrambles out to resume their hunt for insects. Meanwhile, stepping out from the dense foliage, the heavy mammal and her young offspring also return to the open plains. It only takes a few moments for these two very different families to cross paths in the golden savanna once again. Without any hesitation, the tiny mammals hop right back onto their massive client to finish the job they had started. The diligent groomers continue their meticulous work, plucking away the pesky parasites one by one from the tough skin. Surprisingly, the typically restless beast remains completely motionless, yielding to the thorough cleaning provided by her small companions. All of her previous irritated head tossing and relentless ear flicking have entirely stopped for the time being. She clearly embraces the deep relief, standing in a state of absolute tranquility, while the tiny teeth pull away the stubborn bugs. This bizarre interspecies spa session eventually wraps up just as abruptly as it originally began in the tall grass. Having eaten their fill of pests, the energetic foragers scurry off to continue scouring the dirt for their next meal. Satisfied with her newly cleaned coat, the large mother nudges her baby and gently guides them away from the area. There are no polite farewells or overt displays of gratitude exchanged between the unlikely partners before they separate. It is simply a perfect mutual arrangement in the wild, leaving both independent creatures with exactly what they needed. Shortly after taking cover from an unseen threat, the designated sentry carefully surveys the surrounding brush. Once the coast is completely clear, the mongoose troop confidently goes back to their daily scavenging routine. Meanwhile, emerging from the safety of the thickets, the giant sow and her tiny offspring step back out into the open. By sheer coincidence, these two distinct animal families cross paths once more just a short distance away. Without missing a beat, the eager groomers hop right back onto their massive client to finish the job. They diligently pick through the bristly hair, ensuring not a single bothersome tick is left on the mother's thick skin. Once the ultimate deep clean is fully complete, this fascinating second session concludes just as swiftly. No grand gestures or vocal praises are shared, they simply part ways to carry on with their wild routines. It remains a beautifully practical transaction, granting the little hunters a feast while giving the huge mammals sweet relief. This extraordinary dynamic proves that thriving in the unforgiving African bush isn't solely dependent on sheer muscle or speed. Instead, true endurance often stems from brilliant, unspoken alliances that have been carefully perfected over countless millennia. It serves as a breathtaking reminder of how profoundly connected and intelligent the natural world truly is. If you were amazed by this unique wild friendship, be sure to hit subscribe for more incredible animal encounters.